Hocus Pocus 2 is out. Did it cast a spell on us, or was it sleepy and hollow? Reserve seating starts right now. Okay, so Hocus Pocus 2, directed by the Proposals and Fletcher, picking up the reins from Kenny Ortega, from the original. Long delayed sequel. Obviously, the fan base for this movie has grown exponentially, really, since the late 90s, I would say, with video and endless reruns on Freeform and
Yeah, what was everybody's and Robyn's here, by the way. Hi, Robyn.
Hi.
Hi, Robyn.
What is everybody's like background with Hocus Pocus? Because I didn't have Disney Channel when I was a kid. Like I'd seen Hocus Pocus. I came to it late.
So I know I saw it as a kid, grew up watching it. I don't think I ever loved it. I always thought like, yeah, this is fine. This is an okay kids Halloween movie. And I remember when it started getting huge, being surprised and kind of being like, oh, a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia and kind of a lens of nostalgia making this seem better than it probably is. But
it's not ironic though, right? Like people genuinely love that.
No, they like it. Yeah, they do really like it. And again, it's fine. I feel like it's a solid kids movie.
Right.
I probably like it the most of the three of us. It sounds like I came to it a little late. When it came out, it was not something that my parents took me to see in the theaters. I was in junior high at the time. My friend, I remember, like, his dad would like dupe tapes all the time. So like he would like rent something and then illegally tape it and stuff like that. So like it was over at my friend's house and he would have it on every once in a while. But I don't think I like sat down to watch it the full way through until I was in high school. And I remember I was having like kind of like a melancholy week, and I was studying for a math test, and I just turned on Hocus Pocus as a break. And I was like, okay, I'm sucked into this movie. I can either fail this math test and keep watching Hocus Pocus, or I could like watch it tomorrow and pass this test. And I ended up choosing to get a D+ on the math test and watching Hocus Pocus. And it just sucked me in. And I think like part of the reason was because at the time I felt a lot like the Omri Katz character, where I was trying to be cool and like it wasn't working, and I was kind of irritable and stuff like that. And I was a big like Halloween kid and stuff like that. So like it just kind of hit all the right buttons at the time. And then just over time, I think it's two things. One is just it's kind of like a One Crazy Night movie, and like you don't really have that too much with kids movies unless it's like, you know, something a little bit more grown up, like an Adventures in Babysitting or something like that. And then the fact that the source material started with something darker, like Mick Garris put together what was supposed to be a horror movie, and then Disney got its hands on the rights, and then they kind of, you know, dumbed it down. Well, I won't say dumbed it down, but like they made it into more of like a family friendly.
I had no idea about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think because of that, it has the DNA of something a little bit more like you're a kid getting away with something.
Right.
Whereas Hocus Pocus 2 is, the way I described it is, it's like when people go to the Star Wars hotel at Disney World and they want to interact with the IP, but they're just normal people, and they want the experience to replicate exactly what they remember it being from the movie. That's what this felt like. It felt like 4 professional actors or 5 with a bunch of people who like are just normal people who probably shouldn't be in movies.
It's also almost like the plot of the movie is basically like everybody's just fanboying over the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah.
As the characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird setup.
and this is the breakdown that we're really starting to have. Like, I'd say, like, I think I would say we're like a full decade now into like legacy sequels, like the way that they're made now, right? Would you agree with that? Like, we're a couple years into like your Force Awakens and your Ghostbusters Afterlife and all that.
Yeah.
We're pretty well into the formula when it comes to these legacy sequels, these long dormant franchises, and you really go, I feel like, one of two ways. You know what I mean? You go, like, I watched the new Hellraiser the other night, which is wonderful, and it's a Hellraiser remake slash legacy sequel in the sense that like it's along the same thematic lines as the first movie. Like, it's about like addiction, and it's about like, it's about sort of repression and stuff like that, but it's a totally different story that has nothing to do with anything in the first Hellraiser, right? Then you've got like Force Awakens, which is a movie about kids who grew up on Star Wars, like becoming adults, interacting with Star Wars, and learning about what Star Wars actually was, with the Han Solo character and stuff. This is like that, where it's Ghostbusters Afterlife, where the movie is just like, wasn't the first movie so cool? Or like Jurassic World, where there's the Jake Johnson character who explicitly says, like, I'm here to say, like, the first Jurassic Park was awesome. Isn't it so cool how much we love the first Jurassic Park? You start to see more and more of those now.
I also think that this is a case where the filmmakers are caught being fans, which I think you can't afford to be when you're making a movie. Like, you can be a fan, but you can't like pronounce or announce it so explicitly. Like, Hocus Pocus is a movie that exists within Hocus Pocus 2, which is about as stupid as if you were watching Jaws and it just so happens that like you're hunting a shark, but you're watching Jaws on your boat. It does this thing where it tries to reform the Sanderson sisters, who were always supposed to just be cartoon villains, and we've got redemption arcs for them. It's very Republican, and I don't like it.
It's a redemption arc in the last couple minutes that like they don't earn. It's just you realize something bad is happening, and
it just happens,
and then you're redeemed, I guess, but like they don't show any sort of remorse beyond they themselves were punished in a way that only affects them.
They were sucking souls out of children.
This movie is made for people our age who grew up with Hocus Pocus. Like, so you can say like, oh, it's just like, oh, for kids. It's like, no, it's not. Like, no, it isn't. These legacy sequels, these kids movie sequels, they're not for kids. They're for us to show our kids. That's what they're for. You know what I mean? Like, that's the hope. Is like, oh, people in their 30s will want to watch it, want to show their kids, or just feel that nostalgia for themselves. So you do have to address these things. It's like, well, I don't understand. You can't, as you said, like talk out of both sides of your mouth with this.
I have a friend from work who I remember him going on like he had this big to-do a few years ago because he wanted his children to experience Toys R Us, like how he experienced it as a kid. And he was like forcing it so much. And I just kind of said, like, your kids are going to have their own formative memories. I don't remember like my parents like pushing like the Howdy Doody show on me or anything like that. Like, it was like, and I feel like that's kind of what the case is with Hocus Pocus. It's like a 40-year-old's approximation of children's fun.
For not the argument, but like, yes, it is for us, for our age. But the problem with it is that the acting is so Disney kids show, over the top, that I feel like people our age are going to not enjoy it. They're going to be like, oh, this is bad. This is bad acting for the most part.
Right.
Mostly.
And the thing that's kind of charming about like some of those like 90s Disney Channel original movies is like they were just kind of goofy and like they didn't follow any rules. It's like it was like Val Lewton movies for kids. It's like, your title's Phantom of the Megaplex. What could happen? And like with Hocus Pocus, it's become such a like property unto itself, like, with its own wall at Spirit Halloween and everything like that. And it's like, a staple on Freeform throughout the month of October every year. you have to stay within the lines. At first, like when I wrote like the 7-word review, I was like, this looks like a movie, but doesn't feel like a movie. But then I regretted that as it went on, because I've never seen, like on The Mandalorian, when they're inside of studio and there's like a 360 CGI background, somehow it like blends really well. But with this one, I think that they're probably doing the same technology, but there's a lot of stuff that took me out of the movie, where it's like, oh, there's clearly like 20 cast members in this movie. There's not enough, like they're on like a street in the middle of Salem in October, and there's like no background extras on any streets or anything like that. It's
was this a COVID production? Like, do we know if it was?
Probably, yeah.
I'm not sure. I was trying to figure out where, because like some of the establishing shots are definitely Salem, but I was trying to figure out where they filmed. It looked like a lot of it was in Rhode Island, and then they did do some stuff in like certain squares in Salem. But yeah, if you go to Salem in October, it is like, I don't know if either of you have been, but it is uncomfortably crowded. I don't go there in the fall if I can help it, because all of the like magic witch stuff stays up all year round. So if you go in the summer, it's beautiful and there's like nobody there. But if you go in October, there's like lines out to get into stores, there's occupancy things, you're smashed, like walking into other people.
Sounds like Are there certain elements of nostalgia from our past that like you can't really replicate anymore because the context isn't there anymore? So like trying to make a Hocus Pocus 2 and make it kind of feel like Hocus Pocus 93 and like deliver it in the same, as like Robyn, as you're saying, like kind of an Archer kind of cheesy way, you know, with the dialogue and all that. You're not the same person anymore. So the movie doesn't really have the same effect anymore. I don't know. It's just this is for some reason, this one and Ghostbusters Afterlife really stick in my craws. Like, you're just making a movie about how much you like that other movie. So just watch the other movie.
Yeah, I think also it's kind of indicative of the fact that, you know, our generation is sort of the worst generation to ever happen to cinema, which is like, we're not even allowing Gen Z or to have their own pop culture or like have their own stories. Like, we have to kind of, it's like, unlike, you know, the generations before us that were taking the B movies of the 50s or the adventure serials and modernizing them and turning it into something new while still honoring what they grew up on. We just didn't have any original idea.
Gen Z has their own culture, but it has nothing to do right now with movies or like even really television to an extent. Like, most of it is social media, most of it is TikTok, most of it is, you know, all that. And I'm not saying that derisively, that's totally fine. But
kind of the driving force for this movie, from what I read, was Bette Midler, like wanting to bring it back because she found out how popular it was. And she's gone on record saying that this was like the most fun, or one of the most fun times she ever had working on a movie, was the original Hocus Pocus.
I hope she had fun making the second one, I guess, then, if like the whole point of it was because she felt like making it. I hope she at least had a good time.
Was there anything that we did like about this movie?
No, not really. I mean, it made me more excited to watch Under Wraps 2, which is the reboot sequel to a 1997 Disney Channel original movie, because I'm just like, at least that movie's doing its own thing.
I mean, yeah, the dumb boyfriend he had a funny line. Tony Hale, was he?
I mean, sure, you see Tony Hale and you're like, all right, like, cool, like this will be fun for a minute, and then
I'll just say it. I hate Second City type acting. So like when I see a Tony Hale, where it's just like, I'm sticking it up because that's what this movie needs, or like Sam Richardson's just like so mugging and winking at the camera and everything that I've seen him in, it's just like, just stop. So Robyn, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you'll be back with us soon. We are going to be back next week for another Scary Movie Month, a special mailbag episode. So if you have any horror related or Halloween season themed questions or topics for Rob and I to discuss in the next video, please let us know. We'll be sending out a tweet asking for those. But if you have any that you would like to share in the comments for this video, that'd be great. As the kids in Hocus Pocus 2 would say, don't forget to like and subscribe, smash buttons on YouTube.
Until next time.
Stay spooky, and we'll see you later. And these seats are reserved.
I'm not sure.